Today on the Sound of Ages podcast, we finally get a chance to sit down with our very own Samuel G. Handley. I don't actually know if his middle name starts with a G. That's just what his email address says, Samuel G, because he's a straight up G. A guitar genius. And we get to talk about his love of the guitar, how he approaches the guitar, what he's thinking about while he plays the guitar. It's very cool. He's one of the best musicians I know, and we're really fortunate to have him in the band as the shredding guitarist. So sit with us as we explore the timeless power of the voice and how it blends with the guitar on the Sound of Ages podcast.
She would be paid. She would be paid. She would be paid. She would be paid. This may ask.
Okay, welcome to our special guest, Sam the G-Man Handley. We call him the G-Man because he's an original gangster who plays guitar, the double G, the guitar gangster.
GG.
Sam, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first question I want to dive into is when did you start saying that thing, that 6-stringed thing? I want to play that.
When I was like 8, my dad got my mom a guitar for Christmas, and I think I thought it was mine and started playing around with it. And I don't think my mom has played guitar ever. I think I just straight up stole the guitar and started playing, and then I learned a bunch of Beatles, and yeah, I've been playing since then, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's amazing. Okay, so do you remember what your first song was that you learned how to play? Where you got through it and you were like, I freaking did that.
I don't know. I think I like learned some basic chords out of some book, and there was probably a song in there. I don't know what like Beatles song. It was probably one of the like Help or Hard Day's Night or something, like one of the older 60s ones. But
yeah,
not sure.
Man, at least it was the Beatles though. That's really good. That's cool.
Beatles is like my first love. So
man. Yeah, we need to do more of their songs then. We need to get Drew to do some super jazzy, classical, awesome reharmonization arrangements of Beatles tunes with you on the guitar and us singing.
Consider it
that
done.
Would be deeply dope.
Yes.
That reminds me of the year that my dad gave my mom a putter for Christmas.
Nice.
And neither she nor any of the rest of us really learned how to golf. It was big win.
So nobody caught the passion for golf, I guess.
Oh.
The funny thing is my mom's not necessarily a gift person, and my dad loves like trying to give the best gift. And so the family joke is he just started taping the receipt to everything on the gift and then wrap it because he knew it was either the wrong size or something. Like, bless his heart, he would always really try, and then that was the family joke. So at least we know that it's not just our family. We're, amazingly thoughtful, unused gifts tend. So that's good.
Well, it
Sam,
it stopped just short of causing a divorce, I think, in the case of the putter. But it sounds like the guitar didn't have that effect, and maybe even had some positive ripples.
including Sam's career.
Oh yeah, that.
Bringing family, and your parents, Sam, come to a lot of our events, our concerts, and so it's brought your family closer together in the long game. Your dad was just playing the long game.
Yeah, I think it was a good investment, albeit misplaced at first, I guess.
Yeah. So my next question, Sam, is when you first, how did you meet Drew? Because we met doing Book of the Way, and Drew, I think, is the one who contracted you. While I was working on contracting singers, he was contracting the instrumentalists. But how did you two meet?
I believe Andrew's known my parents for longer than he's known me, for sure. And I've gone through, I went to A-Frame concerts, a few as a kid. I remember turning pages for Scott Holden. I don't know if you remember that. I was like 12 or something. I remember. Kind of scared to do that. Anyway, but I would say the moment where Andrew, I really got to know Andrew was probably, I don't know. I don't even know how that came up, but I ticketed at the Springville Art Museum for Sing Actually. And I don't remember.
That's right.
And in the car, Andrew was like, yeah, I'm writing this kind of jazz, fusion with, there's going to be string quartet and a choir, and it's going to be kind of Pat Metheny-esque or something. Anyway. And that was Book of the Way. And so that was the same year, I think.
Yeah.
So, but Andrew can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't really remember how you got in contact with me, or why you invited me to Sing Actually, but
well, I feel like
maybe there's something before.
Relationships are kind of like picking up a cold. You don't know where you're not sure where it came from exactly, but you're pretty sure when you got it.
Best friends are my best diseases,
No, it's true. I've known Sam's parents for a long time, and I think, Sam, you took guitar lessons from my brother-in-law Robbie Connolly, if I remember that.
Yeah.
But I wish I could pinpoint the moment when I thought, holy cow, who is Sam Handley? But that happened at some point where you went from category 1, which was a nice person that I'm aware of, to category 2, which is, hang on, this guy shreds and we absolutely have to collaborate. And somehow that happened, and Book of the Way was the first thing that I think we did together. And then when Cam and I had that piece Darkness Starts, that it was our first little experiment tinkering with guitar on its own plus vocals, that I actually think I wrote in the middle of Book of the Way during that. It was in the center of that timeline. Then I started connecting the dots. I was like, wait a minute, Sam Handley is an unusual dude because he reads at all. Reads well, because the classic joke is, if you want a guitar player to stop playing, you just put a chart in front of him. But in this case, it's quite the opposite.
Savage.
Oh, I know. But Sam's you're a good functional piano player, not to mention flute player and all this other stuff. And you have consistently sort of real time reduced, transcribed piano music and 4-staff vocal music, and you can read pitches, you can vertically reduce pitches into chords, you can read chords, and you can improvise beyond chords. So it doesn't take very long for those of us who are hunting for musicians to say yes, this guy, let's hang and let's make music.
And then from the vocalist standpoint, It's like, oh my gosh, he can rhythm too. And he keeps us, because all you have to do to get a singer to stop singing is put some sort of metrical modulation or rhythmic anomaly or asymmetry in there. Then they're host. So it works. Yeah, I remember that First Light Darkness Starts collaboration. Sam, why don't you just talk through like your first impression of, because we had done, I don't think we had, because we didn't premiere that piece, but with you, but we wrote it for you. So maybe talk about Book of the Way first. What was that experience like from your vantage point?
Well, that was very fun to meet you, Cam. And like, I also, before that point, I don't know that I've been directed so well. Like, I don't know, like, especially with that piece has like a lot, again, like lots of metric crazy stuff that was like,
right.
I don't know, it just felt so easy for you. And so it was super nice. I don't think, I mean, also like in big band, well, one, most jazz bands don't have a director. And then if a big band does have a director, half the time they're in the band playing anyway. And then if they are out front, like, I don't know if, like Ray Smith for synthesis, he would, especially like near the end of his, like when he was retiring, he would just like start the band and then pretty much walk off stage. So I'm used to like, we kind of can carry ourselves and we've rehearsed through this. And so we can do that. But like, so it was nice to have a really, really talented director, but also it was like I've played before that point, I had played in like pretty standard contexts, rock bands, pop bands, and jazz bands. And that's probably about it. I haven't ventured much off of that, but then this was like something totally different. And so I just like totally latched onto it. I'm definitely a person that like, if an opportunity presents itself, I'm going to take it and going to run with it. And so, and then it just happened to be awesome music as well. And like, I was super into it, I don't know. It was super fun and it was challenging too, because, and like the first 2 years also of being in Sound of Ages, I mean, still, I guess, but like, just like a significant learning curve, just kind of figuring out how to do something that hasn't really been done before, which is, accompanying a choir. Like, or at least that there's not like an established tradition of, like if I got called for a country gig, I could listen to a billion country songs and, kind of BS my way through that. But for this, it's kind of like, well, I'm kind of imitating a piano sometimes and kind of imitating a organ or a lute or whatever, but also I am playing an electric guitar. And so, anyway, Book of the Way was just like that first kind of challenge of trying to figure out how to fit in my place in the ensemble while also like, still being myself and like expressing in the way that I do express in music, but also serving the music. And so, and then, trying to figure out how to do this thing that hasn't been done. So, but super fun.
That's really cool. So when you're sitting there, so let's say, because, to that point of from someone who is much more on the, I feel 100% more confident always when things are written out in front of me to read it. And the idea of like, just improvise here. I was in a rock band in high school and that wouldn't scare me. But in choir, it would scare me, or with my voice, it would scare me. And so like Andrew will write these great passages where it will be written music, and then he'll have this bar that says freeze, and you'll freeze that chord. And then he says something like this: Sam Handley, go crazy with slippy, slidey stuff, aka akin to Brian Wilson vocal on Pet Sounds. Like when you see those score directions from Andrew during your first pass, like maybe this is a silly question, but when you're first reading, you go from reading to improvising, what shifts in your mind? How do you make that transition?
First I would say, as a kind of a joke, that sometimes I might breathe a sigh of relief because I'm not reading anymore. Because sometimes the thing about, reading sheet music is like you're kind of locked in, and it makes my brain feel like, oh, Andrew has made this gift for me, and I better like do it perfectly, and the way the music is written, that's how it sounds, and that's like how it is. When like in reality, it's like, and Andrew's talked to me about this, about composition. It's like, well, yes, you write it, but all the audience hears is what is gonna come out at the end. And so,
but I am sitting there judging you silently the whole time.
Exactly.
Just like right now, I'm not chiming in. I'm just sitting here judging you silently. So please continue.
Yeah. No, but anyway, with I think it's there. I mean, I think it is like kind of like you said, there are like different kinds of musicians, maybe a little bit. I mean, I think I stride both. I think I'm much better at, improvising than I am at like I have dabbled in classical. I did classical piano, but I've dabbled in classical guitar, and it's far different, and it's not, I'm less interested in that because in my brain, like when I see just harmony or just like, oh, I can freely improvise or whatever it is, or I freeze a chord and improvise over that. It's like, it's freeing, and it's like, okay, now I can play whatever I want. I don't need to be kind of locked into this other thing. And you kind of asked like what my brain does when it's like literally next to each other. I definitely am thinking like, okay, what is the harmonic content here? But that's kind of mostly unconscious now, and it's mostly like music comes to me in the moment, and I have developed the skills to where like whatever is in my brain at that time, I can hopefully translate that to the guitar. I mean, sometimes it doesn't work like that, and sometimes I also can play a little more mechanically. Like, sometimes I can be like, okay, well, it's such and such a chord. I know like how to play this, so I'm just going to play this. But the best times are when it's like, okay, now here's a moment, and something comes into the brain, and that's what I play. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like you're composing. Yeah, no, it's like you're composing in real time is what improvising is in my mind versus composing outside of time. But Drew, you were going to say something.
Well, I think it's really interesting what you're saying, Sam, because the way that you said that the only thing the audience hears is the rendition that you're offering them in the real time. And that actually is the music when the air is vibrating, right? Like it doesn't matter whether the dots on the page were premeditated, whether the composition is happening in real time, whether a performer is giving a really personalized interpretation of pre-configured stuff. It's the moment that is the music. And it reminds me of the quote that, I mean, it's been kind of attributed to everybody because I think I came across it in the Quincy Jones little memoir, but I think it was variously attributed to Duke Ellington and Rossini. So take your pick. But the quip is, there's only two kinds of music, the good kind and the other kind. And I think it's interesting when we're talking about this, we're throwing around words like jazz and classical and stuff like that. But I think that the good kind of music is the kind that makes the air vibrate in such a way that everybody in the hall like leans forward and feels their hearts like opening up a little bit. Their minds are on fire. And it's like, oh my gosh, I didn't remember that being alive felt like this. This is incredible, right? That's the music. And I think that it's fun that sometimes that can happen from the convergence of what we think of typically as different styles, quote unquote classical, whatever that word means, quote unquote jazz, whatever that word means. But like what happens is that you get this like moment of exhilaration, and that's the thing that we're all working towards.
Yeah. Amen. The podcast is over just like that. It was such a great
peace out.
It's such a like profound statement to say. Well, but while you were speaking, it made me think of like we do come up with these definitions a lot of the time, and we're talking here about on the Sound of Ages podcast about the timeless power of the voice. And so it's interesting that we're talking a lot about guitar and about jazz in a context of the voice, because, you know, when Andrew first had the idea to put electric guitar, it was like there's this great ability with the electric guitar to have a lot of just the pure tone of the strings come out, and it melts with the voices. And so, Sam, maybe talk about, like, I don't know, when you're listening from inside the semicircle, what kind of things are you thinking about in terms of your effect pedal? What's your perspective on like the guitar homogenizing or complementing human voices in a myriad of contexts, you know? Oh, now he's muted.
And now he's gone.
The great thing is even when it gets fuzzy, it's not recording via the internet.
It's recording locally and then uploads later, right?
Yeah.
You here?
Yep, you're there.
You're here.
Okay. I heard most of your... Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I heard most, but then...
No, that's okay. I was just... So...
You worded it so beautifully,
we're talking about
and I'm
the
sorry to do this again.
No, don't care. No, this is great. It's like the timeless power of the voice, the guitar. How are you in real time or in rehearsal or something? You're sitting in the semicircle. What are you hearing? What are you listening for? And what kind of thoughts are you thinking about? What kind of things do you have at your disposal with your pedals to paint sound color to be with the voices and support voices and have voices support you, right? Yeah.
Well, I think definitely I'm kind of constantly thinking of like what my role is in the ensemble at any given moment, because it will change depending on what I'm doing. So like, for example, in Andrew's pieces, typically like most of the tune I'll be accompanying. Sometimes I'll mirror pretty exactly what the singers are singing, like some big chord or whatever. But then there's some moments where I have either like a descant line or a melody line, or I'm also like there's several points and stations where I'm playing in unison with a soprano or a tenor or whoever. And so I think first and foremost is like, where am I supposed to be balance wise, and where am I supposed to be also like energy wise? Like, am I supposed to support the ensemble, or am I supposed to blend in, or am I supposed to come out to the front? So I'm always thinking about that. And same with, we do plenty of stuff that's not Andrew's compositions, where I'm reading an organ part, or like the crazy Christmas cantata where I'm reading organ and brass ensemble,
brass quintet.
And so like in those moments I have to like realize, like, okay, here is like the organ part where I'm supposed to, like the singers are the forefront, and then here's like this crazy brass section where I might be the only one playing, and so I got to figure out how to put that in the right energy and in the right just fit in the right space. And it's like, again, like Andrew said, it's like the only thing the audience is hearing is the music that's presented right now. They aren't actually hearing the brass version that, like I wouldn't expect anybody in the audience to, I mean, maybe like 5 people in the audience know that Christmas cantata or whatever. So it's like, they don't really know that it's supposed to be brass, but how do I make it sound good on guitar? But you kind of ask like what I do with my tone and all that stuff. I think for the most part, I've tried to keep pretty clean and pure, because the style of singing that the singers are singing, I mean, there's many styles, but is typically, striving for that pure tone and that like nice blend. And so if I am too bright or too dark, or whatever it is, like I will stick out in moments that I don't want to stick out. And so I've tried to keep it.
How do you change that? Like for someone who, let's say there's a vocalist out there listening who's never played an electric guitar, how do you change the tone from dark to bright, or the other way around?
Yeah. One of the things that is fun about guitar but can be frustrating is I think there are a lot of ways to do that. If you take a pure acoustic guitar, you can, like, the type of pick that you use. So thinner picks are they're gonna sound thin as well, but they also might be brighter. And thicker picks, especially if they have like rounded edges, they're gonna sound really, dark and mellow and warm.
Wild.
And then the position that you pick at. So if you pick closer to the bridge, it's going to be, the bridge is the end closest to your body. So if I move my picking hand closer to the bridge, it's going to sound much, much brighter than if I'm closer to the neck.
Yeah, Drew, show us. Drew's got a guitar in his hands. It's really fascinating that Drew has a guitar in his hands and Sam doesn't.
I couldn't resist, but this won't be much of a demonstration because this is an electric that's not plugged in.
Just to show us.
Oh, yeah, okay,
like
all
closer
right.
to the bridge.
You got the bridge right here, and if you were plucking with something besides your fingernail, but you're real close, you're just going to have this kind of bright, tinny kind of sound. And whether it's acoustic or electric, you get that in the sound. Whereas if you play closer to the neck, it takes a lot of that edge out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one way.
So that's one way.
Thickness itself.
The pick thickness. Then you have your string thickness. Also, like, I mean, that's like obviously you can't change that between songs or anything, but the typically the thicker the string, also the darker it will be, and the thinner it will be, and it will also sound, the sound itself sounds thinner as well, unless you add a bunch of effects on it or whatever. And then electric guitar, you have typically two different pickup options, or sorry, typically three. You have two pickups, and you can have the one pickup, you can have both, or you can have the back one. So you have like three options. Some have three pickups, so you have five options or even more. So you have like a lot of stuff there, and that's all before the amp. So then within your amp, you have what's called an EQ, equalizer. And if you know, I mean, EQs are everywhere in music, but simple explanation is that you have bass, mids, and treble. And so those are all on like 1 to 10 knobs.
Yeah, just like in your car.
Yeah, exactly. And so with those, you can boost certain frequencies. So if you boost the treble, obviously it's going to sound brighter, and if you boost the bass, then it's going to sound darker, and vice. If you do those down, then it's going to be the opposite effect. And so messing with those also affects your tone. Anyway, all that to say, most of what I do actually in practice, I think, like I don't really touch my amp aside from like maybe the beginning when we're rehearsing, sound checking, and if I rely on your ear actually to tell me, oh, you're actually covering up the bass, or you're whatever it is,
right,
and so
right.
I can adjust from there. And then in real time, I think mainly the only thing I can do is with my pick and like, or my fingers. Obviously, I play with my fingers as well, and just relying on it, not necessarily the position. Actually, I don't change that much, but I think volume, like how hard I'm plucking, also depends on that. I might dip my volume so that I can pluck louder. That would make it brighter, if that makes sense. But if I
without like overbalancing, then
pluck louder, then it's going to change the timbre, but not the dynamic, and vice versa. If I have my volume all the way up, but I'm playing very lightly, it will be that nice dark sound that I kind of want. So it just depends. But but again, it's like a kind of a frustrating thing, because it's like it feels like there's too many variables, and so it can be daunting. But at the end of the day, I think I've always, in general, like the way I play guitar is I always kind of rely on my touch, my what I can do with my hands, because oftentimes that's a lot more important. Like you can have a fantastic tone, but if you have like a terrible touch, then it's not going to fix what you're doing. And then vice versa. Like I, for several years in high school, like guitar effects have like a certain order. I don't know if you know this, but like you can't
teach me.
If you put a reverb and a delay before the overdrive or like any sort of distortion, it's going to have a drastically different sound than if you put them after. And like obviously you can experiment, but like
when you say like, before or after, you mean like in the chain, like so in the actual chain of how you've hooked them up, right?
Yeah. So like guitar. If I put like the correct way, which is pretty correct. Like I agree. The correct way is guitar, any sort of distortion, any sort of like modular effects. Then you have delay and reverb. In high school, I had the exact opposite. I had guitar, reverb, delay, distortion out, and I also didn't like even think about like, oh yeah, it like, but you just put all the effects on and it doesn't really matter. But what it does is it like puts your dry signal through reverb and then through delay. So you have like this super wet dry signal that's all getting distorted versus like just your dry signal is getting distorted. And then that like isolated thing is getting elongated through the reverb. Anyway, it's just like totally different.
Wild.
Anyway, the point of that story was that like in high school, I had that all wrong, but after a few shows, like some like people would come up after me and like, dude, what are you doing with your tone? Like, it's so like crazy or whatever. And anyway, after learning that later, I was like, I think just your touch has a lot more to do with it than like your tone. Because like if I could get a decent sounding tone doing it like completely wrong, then I think touch has like, I don't know, I would say like 80-90% to do with like what the actual sound that comes out, I guess.
Yeah, it's the reason why I sound terrible when I play a Fazioli or a upright honky-tonk piano. Doesn't matter. It sounds crappy both ways because I got no touch.
I think this is one of the reasons why guitar is such a fascinating beast. And I've seen this like many times, and Sam, you probably have too. I feel like, well, first off, I always think of the guitar, the instrument is the totality of the electric guitar with the whole effects pedal chain and the amp. Like that cluster of stuff is the instrument. And if you look at that kind of like as a system, it's probably one of the most like versatile, interesting instruments that we've got access to. And like I heard the composer Steve Mackey talk about electric guitar as a modern pipe organ, like at that level of possibility. And you know, Sam's got pedals where you can dial up the amount of like overtone activity in the sound, just like you would sliders on a Hammond B3, or the way you'd activate stops on a, you know, when you're doing your registration on a pipe organ. And it's kind of crazy, the versatility. It's like a painter's palette that has a lot of color on it, a lot of different texture. There's just like infinite possibilities. But playing it is also another weird thing, because I don't think there's like one right way to do it, obviously. But like on a technique dimension, I see a lot of like young players, they get so stoked about the instrument that they want to just like rig up all the effects and make it do like all the cool noises. And then eventually they say to themselves, oh, I should probably learn how to play it. And and there's a certain amount of like hiding.
Strange concept.
Well, you know, it's like there's a certain amount of like hiding behind the gadgetry. And there have been like really great guitar players in all sorts of cool bands that may not actually be, from a technique perspective, like capable of shredding, but they master a sound and they deploy it really well in service of great songs and do something cool with it. But for a lot of guitarists, I think it's easy to sort of get wowed by all the gadgetry. And then you have this moment where you're like, well, I guess either I learn how to play it or not. And if that's the case, I don't need anything except the instrument. And I better woodshed, and I better learn both, you know, like vertical kind of chord theory and shapes. And then I better learn scale theory and patterns for moving through time. And that's kind of like, you know, like you go into Mirkwood or something like that. Like you're in the middle of the mysterious forest where it's just you and your axe. And then on the far side, where after you've learned how to actually play the instrument, then you reintroduce all the gadgetry and you have both the sort of like infinite color and some level of control over all of the, you know, the technique and tone and everything else in service of whatever the bigger picture is. And I get really stoked when I hear guitarists who have put in the time to master the actual instrument, if you want to think about it that way, and then also all the surrounding technology, because then it really does become it's its own orchestra in that way.
Right. Well, and it's like we've talked about before on the show, Drew, of like simplicity on the far side of complexity. It's like it's fascinating to me, Sam, when we do stations. Now, this is me showing my, perhaps Sam Handley is so just self-sufficient that I often don't even give any direction, because I'm worried that this, like, I'm making sure the singers are okay, that their voices are okay, that they're hearing, just making sure that they're fine and that they're happy. And Sam is always just like solidly there and chill and just takes care of himself. So sometimes I don't all the way know what he's doing with the guitar. I just know that it sounds awesome. But on stations, that seems like much more of a tour de force with the guitar than other things that we've done so far. But I still don't feel like you weren't like playing with all kinds of gadgetry. I felt like it was a lot of just the way your touch was. Like, I think of I think it's when Jesus Falls the first time, and you're plucking those downstrokes really close to the bridge. That sounds like, to a newbie person's like, whoa, cool guitar effect, but that's all just touch, right? Versus when you're doing some of the ding goong ding doom, ding goong ding doom kind of stuff from later, right? So it's I think that that's a testament to your craft of that you've gone through, and it's kind of like the best guitarists know exactly what effects to use, and they don't overdo it, because they can be scalpel like with their guitar effect choices versus, I don't know what the opposite of a scalpel is. A sledgehammer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I think Stations was definitely one of the ones where, well, I don't know. I did play around with some stuff, but it's not like there was one moment where I did get some dirt on the guitar, which was really cool. And that also was during the recording, like that was an unlocking for me, where I was like, oh yeah, like I don't need to just like play the notes or whatever and like
Right.
very mechanically, like this dynamic and this or whatever. And then I was like, oh yeah, I can also like play soulfully and like with my emotion in this and my, the pain of that, also that section. And so anyway.
Yeah, I think the singers had the same kind of experience of like, we can sing with a different color, actually.
Yeah.
It was I felt like we all came to that together, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So Drew, when you're composing for guitar and voices then, and maybe we've talked about this before, but what's your inner dialogue saying when you're thinking of coming at a piece like Darkness Starts? Maybe at the end of this, we'll play Darkness Starts so we can hear that first collaboration again, and we'll play the video at the end with it. But when you were thinking of that piece, subsequent pieces, what's your inner dialogue when writing for that versus when you're writing for voices with piano or unaccompanied?
Well, I think I had a similar kind of experience to Sam, which is that when I was probably 12, I was staying the night at my grandparents' house, and in the storage room next to the guest bedroom, I found a bunch of guitars, acoustic guitars, and they turned out to be my mom's. And this was like the biggest reveal of all time to me. I'm like, wait, my mom plays the guitar. And so I brought those guitars back from my grandparents' house to my house, and I asked my mom about it, and she said, oh yeah, of course I play guitar. And they just hadn't had them at their house for a while. And so she sat down and taught me all the chords that she knew. And it was just like instant magic. And then there was this kid who was probably only like 3 years older than I was up the street, who played in the best rock band in our corner of the town. And so I went up and his name Jared Pendley, and I walked up to Jared's house every so often, and he'd show me licks. And I had my mom's, it was a Yamaha, like this little F-Series thing from the 70s with her hippie guitar strap that had like alternating doves and peace signs on it. And
That is incredible.
I would walk around the block that I grew up on just in this kind of like trance. I was learning, I don't know, it was like dumb stuff, like the beginning of Sweet Home Alabama and Stairway to Heaven and all the cool guitar songs, you know? And I would just walk around the block playing the guitar. It was heaven. And I started noticing that even though you can play all the same songs on the piano, the actual mechanics of them are really different. And it's not just like that you hold your hands one way for the guitar and you hold them a different way for the piano. It's like on a guitar, because you've got strings that are arranged in a certain pattern, the same pitch can appear in like 5 different places on the instrument. And that is not true on the piano. You have exactly one instance of each pitch on the piano. It's like, okay, that's different. And then if you're playing a scale on the piano, all the notes are so like, they're very polite. You know, they sit there and stare back at you, and you play them from left to right and then right to left, and it goes up and it comes back down. And there are very few ambiguities, right? But then you look at the guitar, and there are like 3 different positions for playing the same scale, starting on the same fret on the same string. You're like, oh, wait a minute, this is a different kind of paradigm. And then these like and thens, it just keeps on going, right? Because when you're voicing chords on the piano, you're first off, you're an equal temperament if you're playing a piano. And left hand spacing for chords tends to resemble low end spacing for vocal writing. Pretty frequently, you're dealing in fifths and octaves, and you build chords in a way that tends to behave sort of politely with the overtone series. I mean, that's only partially true, caveat, because of equal temperament. But anyway, when you're putting your hands on the guitar, the strings, if you're in a standard tuning, are E, A, D, G, B, E. Eat a dead goat before Easter. That's what Jared Pendley told me. And you're like, wait a minute, this whole world is organized in fourths with 1/3 thrown in just to be rude or to be tidy, so that you wind up on the E again, depending on how you look at it. You're like, oh, that's really interesting, because some things are easy and instantly intuitive on the guitar, ways to voice chords that are wonky on piano. And then if you compare that to things that sound great and intuitive for singers, it's like a 3rd point on a triangle, where you're all like, it's like you've got singers, a guitar player, and a piano player, each standing on different corners of a triangle, staring at each other and sort of arguing about what's the easy, clever, intuitive thing to do. And then you come up with something interesting by virtue of making everybody angry all at the same time. So, for example, like in Darkness, like if I were writing just for singers, I tend to think in terms of building voicings that that really reinforce the key intervals, the octaves and the fifths, and there's this whole tradition of common practice voice leading, especially the way that I studied it through a lot of counterpoint and building into chorale voicing and all this kind of stuff. And you learn these cadential patterns and sequential patterns, and everything is designed to make singers sound fabulous. It really it's like reverse engineering for how do you make singers sound great and feel super confident and create lines that just have this sense of inevitability. And
that also like resonate naturally in a big, huge reverberant space.
Oh, 100%.
Right? Like the space becomes, it's like a meta guitar where each of the 6 singers Each of the 6 singers is a string, and the cathedral is the box. We are a meta guitar. That should be an album name of ours.
That's good.
And Cam's just up there manipulating them, playing those strings of Sound of Ages. But it's true though, because if you voice chords the right way for singers, the quote unquote right way for singers, what you get are these harmonies that just explode, and they literally sound louder because of that the additive interference, right, or whatever. It's the amplitude that comes because they're in tune. And when you listen to
like do fa open fifth, just like in that part of the register, the way the double leading tone thing just like explodes open.
Yeah, it's acoustically louder, and it tends towards just intonation, and it creates harmonic reinforcement, and will frequently produce additional pitches from the overtone series that are audible in the room. And it's enough to just like raise the hair on your arms when you're sitting in your church and you say, who knew that something could be this beautiful and this incredible? And then you have that same reaction to something that's completely different, because you're sitting close to a piano and you hear the entire instrument start vibrating like it's its own orchestra, and a single person can deploy all of the pitches in a variety of colors in this kind of coordinated, like unified sort of sound. And it's amazing. And the voice leading is different, and the doublings are oftentimes implied because you can't play unisons on the piano, by the way. And depending on the style, the era and style of music, all of the doublings and spacings are wrong according to common practice thinking. Totally fine. Like you listen to Debussy or something like that, or you listen to Brad Mehldau improvising, Keith Jarrett, some of my favorite pianists, and you're like, oh, there's an entire galaxy that I didn't know existed, and it lives right here inside this box, and I am forever in love with it. But then you have that same experience with a guitar player, and guitar players, when you're trafficking chords that are built off fourths or certain shapes that are just so comfortable in your fingers, you're like, oh, that sounds so natural. It feels so organic to the instrument. And you have those like up close experiences with fabulous guitar players. And Sam and I love some of the same guitar players, like hearing Kurt Rosenwinkel with Brian Blade's Fellowship Band. I mean, that's a existence altering experience. Like, you're never the same after hearing music like that. But it's also true when you hear like Pat Metheny's One Quiet Night. It's a solo album for baritone acoustic guitar, and there are no effects, right? It's like you're just sitting in front of the vibrating strings, and your whole heart is changed because of it. And so for putting it all together, though, a piece like Darkness Starts, it's an interesting series of compromises. Not all 3 points on the triangle, because there's no piano in that. But when you look at the voicings in a piece like Darkness Starts, or in a lot of the other stuff that we've done, frequently I'm doing these like little compromises between, well, if guitar were not the accompanying instrument, I might approach it with these sort of voicings. But we've got guitar, and so we're going to do voicings in the voices that mirror what feels and sounds organic to the guitar. And we might use parallel structures like you would have if you're sliding your hands left and right on a guitar fingerboard, because that's a natural feeling thing to do on a guitar that sounds awesome, that you wouldn't typically do with voices. And so you get this weird sort of see none of the above outcome when you put these disparate things together. And there's tons of fun things to experiment with. For example, you could, if you think through every instrument in the orchestra and all of the voices, you can make a list of the ones that are capable of doing a glissando, where you slide from one pitch to another pitch through sort of every little pitch in between. You can do that on a violin if you're sliding your finger up the fretboard. You can do that on a trombone if you use that funny slide sound. There's not a really, really long list, but a guitar using the metal or glass slide that's typical in blues playing that came from using broken bottlenecks against the guitar strings in open tunings. That's one of the things that can slide. And another thing that can slide, the human voice. And we have had a lot of really fun experiments just saying like, okay, slide people, let's put our sliding together and see what happens. And I feel like we came up with some kind of amazing texture timbre moments by using a slide on the guitar in conjunction with voices that are doing a glissandi at the same time, changing register and dynamics at the same time. And man, that has been like really fun. Never would have thought of that in a million years if I was just writing for vocals or just writing for piano or whatever.
Yeah.
I was just going to say how lucky we are to have a phenomenal composer who also plays guitar, because I
was literally about to say the same thing. There's no way anyone else could do it. Because
I've also read plenty of like big band music, and the moments when they attempt to like write notes for me, like single note, whatever, single notes are fine. But whenever they try to write like voicings for me, they often, there's not really an intuitive method at determining whether such and such voicing is even possible on guitar, or at least within a given tuning. I mean, like most, you could probably play any 6-note voicing if you change the tuning or whatever. But assuming like we're keeping the tuning the same, or the standard tuning, like there are finite options, if that makes sense. And so, versus again, like piano, you have like 10 fingers, and you can maybe double a few. You can get away with some crazy stuff, but with guitar, like there are only 6 strings, and then the way that you can arrange those, I don't think there's any way to like determine, besides you could guess like, oh, I think like if I put a minor second here and have enough space, then that's probably possible. But the surefire way is to just like actually sit down and play the guitar and experiment. And so it's really nice to have Andrew, who not only like can play the guitar, but he is very creative and comes up with a lot of the stuff that I already use, or if I haven't used it, then it's really cool stuff. So,
well, you're nice
anyway,
to say
really
that.
lucky.
The thing I can always count on is that whatever I slog through while I'm trying to compose, it will sound a lot better down the road when Sam's playing it. But it is really interesting, because it's one thing to like write an idea, and a lot of composer stuff sort of hovers in the idea space, but it's totally different when you get right down to ground level. And that would be like a specific voicing that is meant to accommodate human hands on a guitar, for example. And then on, like when you're writing piano music, that's where like counterpoint turns into composition, is where you're actually saying, no, this is for the piano to be played by a person who's a pianist, right? Like that's, you get out of like conceptual stuff and down to the ground level. And I play guitar just well enough to kind of BS my way through that stuff and kind of know what would be idiomatic, and then you give it to a really good player, and it's great. And it's especially fun with Sam, though, because in the pieces where I leave stuff up to improvisation, we were talking, Cam, you were talking about that before. I think it's a little bit like, I provide a diving board and the pool, right? Like I tee up a scenario, and then I give a place where I know it's going to be comfortable to land, but everything in between the time, you just trust the diver to do whatever needs to be done.
To do the quadruple backflip gainer.
Yeah,
which is what Sam does every time. It's awesome.
Every time, and it's amazing. But you have to like think about the geography of the instrument, about the context in the piece of music, and kind of be able to tee it up so that those moments are successful.
Yeah. Well, to wrap up, then, you know, I remember sitting there. My first experience with the guitar was working construction for my grandpa in California for the summer, and my payment for one of the 2 months I was there, one of the half of the time was a Yamaha acoustic guitar, and I would just sit there and watch John Frusciante play Under the Bridge and learn how to play Under the Bridge, and it's still like the only song I can play. But I just would, so thinking about that though as like a gateway into this whole, it just is really, I feel really lucky and really fortunate that the three of us can collaborate, and that it's like living our rock band glory days in like a different lane. And so, Sam, I'm just like so grateful that you keep saying yes to being in the band, because it's just the coolest for the sake of novelty, but also I just think the sounds that we're creating are really, really fun and cool and compelling. And I can't wait I feel like the iceberg is this tall, and we've explored like this much of it.
Yeah,
with
I was about to say
is possible, you know. And so I'm excited for, you know, future projects and events and pieces and collaborations that we can explore further.
And I think it's worth
noting.
I'm
just so happy that.
I was just gonna say it's worth
Sorry,
we're being beamed into the Twilight Zone.
I just think it's worth noting that we, in our Guilty Pleasures concert, we asked Sam Handley to play Van Halen's Eruption, and he said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." and then he lit the entire venue on fire, and then threw his pick into the audience. And I ask you, choral music friends, when was the last time that happened in a choral music concert near you?
Well, you can bet that it's going to happen again in a choral music concert near you coming up 26, 27 seasons. So, Sam, get your fire fingers ready for more.
Gotta get it back in my fingers.
Yeah, dude. Okay, Sam, thanks for joining us. We'll do another. We should do a couple other of these, and we can talk about some specifics and get into the nerdy chords, and you can bring your guitar and you can like play some stuff for us. That would be really fun.
Oh, that'd be super fun.
Okay.
Ciao.
Money. This is freaking fun. Okay, let's do it. You good? You're good? Okay. Here we go.
Cool.
Then we're back to the.
Yeah.
So we can crescendo there. at
Yeah.
5.
No, that's great. I
Because
can't
that
hear
way I
it.
can, okay, good.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, good.
Thanks for joining us today, everybody. So we had an awesome conversation with Sam Handley. It's really cool to be able to hear his perspective and point of view and kind of lens into the ensemble through the guitar and through what he's thinking about. We appreciate you signing up for our email list, liking, subscribing the show, share it with all your friends, and look forward to celebrating the timeless power of the human voice with us here on the Sound of Ages podcast. We'll catch you next time.